Hi, I'm Emilia, and I'm here with my project, The Origin of Blindness, which is a VR interactive animated experience. And I'm here in Stereopsia to pitch the project because I was selected in Annecy Festival, and I got the booster prize, which was basically being able to come here to Stereopsia and pitch the project to the festival. The story of the project starts in 2023, and it was the first selected in Next Lab Generation in Madrid, which is basically an artist residency for quill animation. And from that moment, I created some concept art and a very short teaser trailer, and I started pitching in various festivals. So here I am.
And what is the name of your the presentation that you'll be pitching today at Stereopsia?
It's called The Origin of Blindness, the project, and it's a 60F animated VR experience with interactivity and it's hands-free. So we're going to have hand tracking, and visually it's... and story-wise also, it's inspired from Saramago's novel, Blindness. And the visuals are... You have to imagine of a world made out of glass and steel, and it reminds somehow of deep abyss ecosystems. So it's very dark, there's purple and blue, and the story is about blindness, both as blindness itself and as a metaphor. Because when I read Saramago's novel, I was struck by the concept that he has in the book. Because in blindness, in blindness, you have the normal world, like our regular world, and suddenly everyone goes blind because of an epidemic of blindness. But instead of seeing everything dark, as we would expect from blindness, they see white, and they call it the white sickness. And I found it beautiful to associate light with something evil and something negative, because usually we have the opposite, right? So I thought to take this concept and kind of switch it. So in my world, everything is black, is dark, starts in the darkness. And the people that live there, they are cavemen, and they discover the light for the first time. So they can use the light to shine around in their surroundings. But the problem is that the world is not used to light. The light is too strong. It's like animals when they, are scared of such light on the highway.
Or when you stay in for too much longer of time in your house.
Exactly.
You go out,
exactly. You squint your eyes.
Yes.
Exactly. So basically, the nature itself, it's squinting her eyes to such strong light. And the light is damaging nature, but is also helping humans to see better. Just like darkness, it's making the nature thrive, but it's making things more complicated for humans. So there is this double-edged sword in both sides, light and darkness, and you, the user, have the power in your hand to balance the ecosystem. Because you have light in one hand, you can literally shine around with your hands, and darkness in the other one. So you are able to counterbalance the effects of the light or make things darker or brighter as you wish.
Okay, so that's something that really interests me, because I've always been fascinated by darkness, which I believe is really underused in the XR world. I've experienced a couple of VR experiences where darkness is part of it, and I believe personally that immersion in darkness can be even more powerful than being immersed in a CGI created world, for instance, because I feel like my senses are duplicated when I'm in darkness. I hear better, I feel better. So I'm just wondering if it's something that you explore, maybe with spatial audio, and since it's 6DoF, your experience is a 6 degree of freedom. I was wondering if you're maybe willing to, not that the fact that you're willing, but if it's something that you explore in your experience.
That's a great question, because actually, yes, definitely. The reason it's 60F is that I want to let the user be able to explore this dark space. But obviously, how do I let the user explore an infinitely big dark space in a finite and maybe small room? What I want to implement in my experience is the technique of impossible spaces. Which is basically something that has been used also in Songs for a Passerby, as well as Tea for God. because I think that it's great to have a dark environment where you can use basically portals to walk around in circles somehow, but you are exploring more and more areas. So I'm already experimenting with the impossible spaces structure because it's basically, it works as a recursive structure architecture. Yeah. So you're like exploring multiple kind of layers of the environment on top of each other. And I want to see what happens if that is in darkness, because you don't really know where you're going maybe, but there's a path guiding you, and you end up walking in like on the same spot multiple times, so there's always different things, right? Okay. So yeah, that's something I definitely want to experiment with, to give the darkness feeling even more.
So you're pitching your project today, and I believe you have done that in the past. What is it like to pitch a project that you're currently working on, and how is your pitching going to eventually transform or make it evolve in the future?
Okay, so well, pitching something you're working on is obviously great, at least for me, because you're finally able to tell the people what's in your mind. And but I also have to say that the feedback from the people in the audience is vital, and even pitching the project multiple times, it's really important, because sometimes I just talk and realize that maybe something that I'm saying doesn't make sense for the story, or there is something that doesn't follow. So pitching, for me, it's a way to learn more about my project and how it's going to work, and if it's yeah, how I can change it, and then I have feedback from the audience as well, and just anyone who works in VR. So yeah, it's great.
So from what I understand, people who will be attending will kind of participate in the creation, in a way, of your project. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, exactly. They help me understanding and seeing other aspects of the project. Right. Exactly. So basically, I have somehow kind of a co-creation experience when I pitch, and with the Q&A, or just talking with the people after the pitch, because I often have very interesting insights from both people from the industry, but actually even from people that are not related to the industry at all. So yeah, definitely.
Okay. Interesting. Now, what I saw, you made short films prior to this. You have an entire career before working with virtual reality. I'm just wondering, coming from moving images, coming from traditional filmmaking, what pushed you to move away from, or not moving away, but more like evolve into a different medium, still and that still involves moving images, but involves people interacting with the moving images. What made you made the switch, and how does your work ethic evolve from it?
Wow, that's an amazing question. So, well, first of all, I was always into animation. So when I was doing traditional filmmaking, was still animation, and now in VR is also animation. So yeah, it changed let's say the scope of where I put the animation, but for me that's still like my medium. So yeah, but it's definitely very fun how I got into VR, because I wasn't even animating yet. I was already into drawing, but I wasn't already an animator. In a fair, I tried the headset. Like, I can't remember which headset actually, but I tried Tilt Brush basically, which is a painting VR software, and I lost my mind about it. I just started jumping, and so from that moment, I decided that yes, I wanted to go in animation, and I also was interested in VR, but I didn't have the means yet. So the reason why I also went into VR, animation, and interactivity is because I think that stories can be even more powerful if they surround you and if they have you dive into them. And I really like the idea that you have to direct the attention of the viewer in a 360 6DOF environment. It's harder, obviously, but it's crazy how you can want them to look exactly there, and then they will look exactly there if you are doing a good directing job. While in traditional filmmaking, they only have a square. It's still complicated, obviously, but 360 it's a lot. And another very important reason for me is linked to why interactivity. So why not only 360 films? And that is because I really want to make art, and I think that nowadays art has to be interactive. We can't want the users to just, look at the art piece from outside and just admire it and think what this may be and then leave the museum. I think that there must be co-creation, there must be interactivity, and the users have to be engaged in a even playful way in the work of art.
Okay, that's an interesting point, and I have a question for you in regards to this. When was the first time you felt like you were really co-creating an art piece? You yourself, as an audience member or a person who is experiencing art, something that you did not create, but you felt like you were part of its creation. As like outside, you meant, like you just gave me an example. You go to a museum, you look at an art piece, and then you just leave it afterwards. You didn't touch or interact with anything. When was the first time you ever experienced this? What made you feel starting thinking that's what I want to go for next time?
Okay, I have to remember it because the very first, I'm not sure what was the very first time. Let me think. Well, it was definitely not the first time, because probably that goes back when I was 6 years old or something. But a time that was important for me was I was in Copenhagen, and there was an exhibition of Yayoi Kusama, who is an immersive artist, I would say. And basically, she made this infinity room that is also now visible in multiple exhibitions around the world. But I think she was the first who had this idea. And I was just walking amongst the mirrors and the lights, and I thought that was incredible how immersive it was. And I was literally just walking there. I wasn't interacting, I wasn't touching anything. But it felt complete, and it felt a personal exploration, a full-rounded personal exploration. So I think that was probably one of the first times where I thought, okay, there's something beyond the traditional mediums, and we can create environments and just let the viewer do what they want with it without forcing them or guiding them. And I would love to have that in my VR experience as well. Just let them be inside the project.
Well, I'm very much looking forward trying your experience very soon. I wish you all the best for your pitch. It sounds like a very interesting piece. Please keep us in touch, because I would like to experience it once it's ready. And I wish you all the best for today.
Thank you so much. You will be the first to know when it's out. And thank you so much for your time and for the interview. It was a pleasure for me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Emilia.